Hey, Lindsay, welcome to the Choose Africa podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. Can you just tell everyone who hasn't heard of you before a little bit about kind of where you're based now and kind of like a background of some of your story?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much for having me, Valerie. I'm so happy to be here and to be able to share some information. So I'm currently based out of Montgomery, Alabama, originally from Connecticut. And I have spent about a decade so far in the military as a Chinook flight engineer. And my sister had engraved the words "Fly Fearless" on the back of a medallion and given it to me for Christmas one year before I deployed to Afghanistan. And that medallion really resonated with me. It was on my dog tags until the connecting link broke off. And I thought I lost it, and it miraculously showed back up. And now it stays in my uniform pocket close to my heart. And the words resonated not only because I had to literally fly fearless in the air in a Chinook helicopter, but also in life and in my journey. So I wanted to be able to share that and help other women fly fearless in their life. So that's kind of what I brought and where I came from and where I'm going.
That's such an amazing story. I have so many questions for you. The first one is just what made you want to join the military? Because I think it's a little bit less common for women. And so what made you want to join the military? And did you have any extra challenges being a female? And what was that like for you?
That story is actually interesting because not only did I join, but I joined very late in life. So I joined 2 weeks before I turned 32. And it was, yeah, which was like it's like not a thing. I mean, people were like, "Oh, you're having a midlife crisis," and I'm like, "No, it was something that was always in the back of my mind." My dad was an Army Vietnam veteran, and it just was always kind of there, pulling and pulling. And I was like, you know what, it's now or never, because I'm going to age myself out. And so I enlisted in the Army Guard because I thought, I could still be in the civilian world and not have to give up that piece of my life. And I could still be in the military, and finally accomplish that. And I had enlisted originally as a Chinook maintainer or a mechanic, basically. And I was the only female in maintenance. And then I went to the flight board, and then I was the only female in flight company. And there were a lot of challenges, working twice as hard to be considered half as good, being told I wasn't good enough, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't, right? And I just kept pushing through. And I had this vision. I'm going to be signed off as a Chinook flight engineer, and I'm going to be able to accomplish that goal and check that box. And it took me longer than others because, a lot of pushback and all that, but I definitely eventually accomplished that and signed off. And it was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful when it happened.
Incredible. Congratulations, first off. That's amazing. And for other women, I think a lot of women, whether they're in the military or the only woman at the table or the only woman in C-suite, how do you not doubt yourself in the process? Because you do get that message a lot that it's, so how do you stay true and keep believing in yourself?
Yeah, you definitely get a lot of external feedback from, not only from the male side, but the female side. And your family, your friends, your coworkers, you get it everywhere. And one thing I've found that has been really, really helpful is just being true to your internal core and being strong in the vision that you set for yourself, and just seeing it and replaying it and imagining it and feeling it, and just knowing that, hey, I'm good enough and I can do this, and I'm more than good enough. And eventually, because we can't control time, right? Eventually it will come through, and just being strong and not listening to all of that external feedback. And because it's not true, it's somebody else's belief. It's not your own belief. So as long as you're true and consistent with your beliefs, then we can really accomplish anything.
What are some of your favorite tools that you help women do that? Like, it sounds like, do you have them use like affirmations, like visioning, meditation? What are some ways you actually don't lose them, like that belief in the day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, affirmations are really important, but having that affirmation, just saying it over and over again might not resonate. You have to actually get the feeling for it and feel the way that, I mean, if you're saying, I am worthy, well, what does that mean to you? What does that feel like being worthy? And really imprinting that on yourself, like on your soul, basically, so that you can feel it and it resonates with you. So affirmations and journaling, and I'm sure a lot of people meditate or visualize, and those are all great tools as well. And just getting out into nature and really connecting. Just there's so many different ways that you can really do that.
It sounds like you're saying like, yeah, there's so many ways to do it, and it's what works for one person might not work for the next, but just finding what truly works for you. And I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it may not be one thing. There could be several different things that you're implementing. I mean, maybe you're doing all of it, and you need to kind of encompass all of it, and maybe just one tool works for you. So yeah, definitely there's different things for everybody. We're not all the same.
Yeah, no, I love that. And when did you decide to finally start Fly Fearless? Like, what is the story behind what actually made you go out and want to help other women accomplish big things in their journey as well?
I originally started Fly Fearless in 2021, and that honestly, it was just I just couldn't get Fly Fearless out of my head, and it just resonated, and it was like this pull, this draw, and I'm like, there's something more to this. Like it's not just for me internally. I have to share it. I have to share this with the world, and I have to make sure that other women can fly fearless just like me. And I just got so excited about it.
Yeah, no, it's such an important mission. And when you're saying flight fearless, like what do you do when you are scared? Like right before you go to do like an event and you're speaking, or right before you launch your career, what do you do when you do have like those fears and thoughts and anxieties that come up?
Oh gosh, it's so funny that you mentioned speaking, because growing up, I've always been like terrified of public speaking. I was like, oh, that's just not even a thing that I want to do. And now when I do it, I make sure I say a little prayer, and I'm just like, let the words come to me. Let the universe fill me, let the higher spirit, fill me with the words. Cause I'm like, you place this on my heart. It's not, I'm just the vessel, and I'm just distributing this information, and just make sure it comes through clearly and concisely. And every time I do that, I go through and I'm totally at ease, calm and comfortable and confident when I'm speaking, and it's completely comfortable now. And afterwards I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even like who was that person? Like I mean, obviously it's me, right? But it feels like a totally different experience. So I just make sure that I stay a little connected and grounded before I step out, and then everything usually works out.
That's so amazing. I love when you get in that zone. I've had that before too when I'm speaking, and sometimes I just really get into it. All the nerves go away, and it's like something's like flowing through you, and it feels super good. Um, I want to talk about like, so I know you do a few different things, and one of the main things that you do is helping women who are in more of a male dominated space, which I could tell that you would definitely be the expert on that. What are some other women who are in more male dominated like arenas, and what is the first thing you do to help them?
Honestly, there's been, oh my gosh, so many. I mean, the construction or electrician or mechanics, and, just kind of find out where they're at and check in on their mindset, and check in on, the different struggles and challenges that they're having. It could be, the way that they're communicating, or the way that they're standing in their, presence of being. And, maybe some things, maybe they're thinking they're communicating clearly and they're really not. It's a little muddled. It's a little, maybe it's you're kind of defeating yourself as you're speaking. And so just kind of checking in on all that. And mindset is a huge thing in all of that as well. And people just kind of usually dismiss it. And it's so much bigger.
Yeah, it's massive. What do you think about I had a client who's really big into not being afraid to wear more like female colors or female fashion in a male dominated place. And so last week I remember buying like a pink blazer, and I was like, I don't even care about corporate norms anymore. Like I feel like Elle Woods and I love it. But what do you find true about that and like what women wear, especially in the male dominated area?
Gosh, I think as long as you're being confident and true to yourself. And I mean, if you want to wear that bright pink jacket, yeah, you're probably going to get some external looks and whatever. But if you're carrying yourself fully confident and fully embracing it, people are going to respect you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I feel like I got a lot of compliments out of it, for better or for worse. It was definitely like a conversation starter. Um, the second thing I want to ask you is, I know in like on your website, you also have kind of like a service offering where you help a lot with like the operations and the systems and the processes. And until I became a business owner, you know, processes bored me until I hired an operations manager and we tripled in 3 months our revenue. And that was when it taught me how important it is. So talk to me about some like the ops and kind of your beliefs behind them and the most important ones that every business owner or entrepreneur should have in place.
Absolutely. Well, my civilian background is all about administration and operations. So I love systematizing and creating all that. And if I can help somebody else do that, then that's just all the more powerful. I'm using my gifts the way that I should be, right? So I think it's, as entrepreneurs, we kind of like, we have to do everything. We have to manage everything. And, you know, we can't grow until we can afford it, or we can't hire this person until we can afford it. And that's not really the right mindset that you should have about it, because that person can actually make you grow more. So they're paying for themselves and then some most of the time, if you're hiring the right person and they're implementing the right tools, obviously. But just recognizing that, and as an entrepreneur, we're probably not good at everything in the business. So outsourcing it to somebody who is like, it's their bread and butter, they can manage it for us, then that's so much better, because it frees us up to do the things that we are actually good at and the things that we actually want to concentrate our time on, so that we can remove all of that, all the stressors as best as we can, right? Because there's always going to be stress. But if we're offloading it to somebody else where they can just excel at it and just take it off our plate, and we don't even have to think about it, then that's all the better. And if I can help somebody see that and do that and accomplish that, then it fills me with so much joy.
I bet. And I do think it is a different kind of person who does operations. And as an entrepreneur, I think we're like delusional in that we can do everything, but like, should we be doing everything? And I know like for our ops person, like she just thinks in systems and efficiency and automations and everything. I would be like, okay, we can hire someone to do that. She's like, or we can automate it. And recently I did track my time, and it was very enlightening, where it was like, okay, 1/3 of everything I'm doing can be eliminated, or a system or an automation. 1/3, we're going to hire a new VA for myself. And then, you know, it's just very interesting. So where do you find, when do you need a system? When should you hire someone? When should you use AI? And how do you know the difference?
Oh gosh, I know if you do something more than twice, you should have it written down as some sort of, SOP or something. Like you, because if you do something more than twice, you should have it written down, at least as a start. You can expand upon it and you can change it obviously from there, but because then that means you can eventually put something as a system, either some sort of automation, or when you hire that VA, they can just come in and look at your steps and be like, oh, they can do it. It helps with training. It helps with onboarding. It helps with all of that stuff. So I think that's like the first thing, doing something.
Wow. I literally just wrote that down. If you do something more than twice, write it down. Where do you write them down? Like, do you just do like where do you put your SOPs? Is it like in a Google Doc, or do you have like a fancy system for it?
Honestly, I think that depends on the business. Some people use like Google Drive, and they have just like a working document, and you can search within there, and then that pulls in all your systems. Like it would go towards all of your systems and tools and stuff. But having something that's just a central location, I mean, it could just be a notepad to start, and then you move it to an electronical space. Like but yeah, definitely just write it down and keep track of it, because then you can build upon it and change it and make it better.
Yes, no, that's so, so important. And what do you think are maybe some of the other common, maybe stereotypes or myths or just mistakes that people make when trying to create systems and increase their profitability?
Probably doing it all yourself or thinking you can do it all yourself, and then too many systems too quickly. Because you hear a lot of, oh, you need this system, you need that system, and you need to do this and you need to do that, and this one works with this one, and then you end up with systems all over the place, and they don't work together, and then you're less efficient, not more efficient. So don't put in don't implement a system before you're actually ready for it. So I think that would be a big thing.
That's so good. I am like an all or nothing person. I would be the person who would like, and we're going to jump in and do everything all at once. And that's not the best plan of attack. Um, and one other question I have in regards to like profitability, because I know you have a focus on that too. Sometimes it's hard to know, like, when do you become more profitable? When do you give your team raises? When do you hire someone locally? When do you outsource? Kind of, what is your, I guess, litmus test on profitability, and when do you become more profitable, and when do you really need to invest that money into the business or into your team?
I actually have all of my accounts following the profit first model. And so the profit's already automatically built in. I mean, anytime money comes in, it's already dispersed twice a month into all the other accounts for operational expenses, for profit, for taxes. It's already segregated. So I already know whether or not I can hire that other person, or whether, I can move into the next phase, or if I need to hold steady. So I definitely follow that. And I think everybody should follow that. It makes things a lot easier.
100%. If you haven't read the book, Profit First, it's huge. And we actually use Relay Bank, and Relay has like a partnership. Yeah, they have a partnership with the author. And so they make it really easy to follow that method, and you can create everything you want to create. That's fantastic. It's a great bank. I have another question for you in terms of like, you also do short-term rentals. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, so I do a real estate investing piece, and I do some co-hosting for short-term rentals, and I'm a private money lender for another short-term rental, and so that's always fun. I'm always looking for more opportunities. I'm actually looking to get into some either multifamily or storage facilities as well. So I'm always looking to add to my portfolio and expand in any way.
That's so cool. And do you think short-term rentals is for everybody? Like, can everybody do that? Should everybody do that?
Gosh, that's a great question. Honestly, I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that. I think everybody could do it. I'm not sure if everybody wants to do it. There's definitely, some challenges with it. I mean, there's different ways you can do it too. I mean, you can get into it through arbitrage, like signing a lease with a long-term rental, and then just subleasing it basically as a short-term rental. So you can do it that way. You can co-host, where you're just sharing revenues with the owner, and you can own your own properties and have them as a short-term rental. So I guess it depends on which area you'd want to focus on. But yeah, I think the opportunity is there for everybody if you want to put in the work and do it. Whether or not you're going to enjoy it after the fact, you could always sell it in some way, or hire a co-host to manage it for you or something.
That's really great advice and very honest. I love that. To wrap things up a little bit, I know that you work with women. So if there's a woman who's out there and is like, I need a coach or I need some support, who's kind of like the person that you think you're best at supporting?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think because a lot of times, especially as women, we want to move forward and we want to progress, but then at the same time, we're like, no, I'm not good enough to, or I'm not ready yet, or, I don't think I could do the things I'm supposed to be doing, or whatever. We get in our own heads, right? So I think the woman who I could really support is the one who knows that they can be better in themselves and they're ready to make that change. I think that would be the key things, that they're ready and willing and open to make the changes.
Yeah, no, I love that. I also see, like, when I look online for coaches, you kind of see two different buckets. You either see people who are all about like affirmations and visualizing and meditating and believing yourself. But then there's another part where it's like, okay, you can do that, but operations and processes and revenue and all of that is also like a realistic fact. And sometimes you get coaches who only focus on that. So I feel like you kind of represent like the best of both worlds. Like you need that intrinsic desire and worth and belief in yourself. But once you do that, you're going to need some systems and profitability to make it work. So I feel like you're like a shining example of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want any female audience member who's listening to this just like to take away from this conversation?
Gosh, I think the one thing I would probably say is thoughts become things. So control your thinking and you can control your life.
Ooh, that's so good. So powerful. Thank you, Lindsay. And where can everybody find you and connect to you?
Yeah, so the website is flyfearlessunlimited.com. So you can reach out to me there. I'm on social media, Fly Fearless Unlimited, Fly Fearless Coaching. And you can always call or email as well. And all the information is right on the website. So that's the best place to get me.
Amazing. And we're going to be putting all of those links in the show notes so people can just connect to you there. I know I added you on LinkedIn this morning. So I'm super excited for more women and more companies just to hear like the great work that you're doing. So thank you for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.